You wake up every day, but something inside you doesn't. There's a version of you that puts on the clothes, checks the notifications, does the job, smiles at the right moments, but that version is hollow. You can feel it, like wearing someone else's skin. You perform, you adapt, you survive, but underneath it all, you ache in silence. There's a voice you've buried so deep you've almost forgotten it was ever yours. You lie without words. You lie by omission, by compliance, by being the version of yourself that the world accepts more easily. You laugh when it's expected. You nod when you don't agree. You say yes when everything inside you wants to scream no. And it works. You're liked, maybe even admired. You've become someone others find reliable, polite, competent, but you've also become invisible to yourself. Because to fit in, you started cutting pieces off, smoothing your edges, dimming your light. They didn't ask you to disappear, not directly, but you understood the rules early. Don't be too intense. Don't be too honest. Don't be too much. So you shrunk, bit by bit, until you could barely feel where you ended and the world began. You learned that truth can be punished, that authenticity makes people uncomfortable, and that love often comes with conditions. Be easy to handle. Don't make a scene. Stay agreeable. So you made yourself easy, and you called it maturity, adaptability, success. But inside, something kept rotting. Because even if the world loves who you pretend to be, you'll always know it's not really you they love. They love the mask, the edited version, the curated soul. And the real you, the messy, complex, burning truth of you, sits alone in the dark, uninvited, unacknowledged. You achieve, you impress, you blend in, but every win feels muted. Every compliment echoes in a hollow chamber, because deep down you know, this isn't the life you wanted. This is the life you built to avoid being rejected. And maybe you did survive. Maybe the mask kept you safe, but now it's all you have. Survival isn't the same as living. Enduring isn't the same as existing. And you weren't born to perform. You were born to become. A part of you still remembers, a whisper beneath the noise, a pulse inside the silence. It's weak now, but it's not gone. And it's waiting for you to stop pretending long enough to listen. You weren't born hiding. You came into this world screaming, unfiltered, undeniable, a small truth with a loud voice. But the world doesn't like loud truths. Somewhere along the way, you learned that being yourself came with consequences. A cold look, a disapproving sigh, an unexpected silence after you shared something real. You were too curious, too emotional, too sensitive, too alive. So you began to adjust. Not because you were weak, but because you were smart. You knew how to survive. If showing joy made people uncomfortable, you became quieter. If speaking your mind created tension, you became agreeable. If expressing pain pushed others away, you learned to swallow it. And at first, it worked. People liked you more when you gave them less, when you shrunk to fit their comfort zones. You were rewarded not for who you were, but for how well you played along. So you kept adjusting, even when it hurt, especially when it hurt. Your first mask wasn't a lie, it was a shield. You wore it because you needed it, because you were too young to lose love. So you edited yourself, not out of malice, but out of fear. You began to present only the parts of yourself that wouldn't get you abandoned, the nice parts, the funny parts, the parts that asked for nothing in return. And little by little, you lost the rest. Not all at once, just enough each time to feel a little less like home. It's strange, isn't it? How pain teaches us to disappear, how we learn to leave ourselves before others get the chance to. That's what the mask really is, a preemptive rejection of who you are before anyone else can do it for you. You become your own exile, and the longer you wear it, the harder it becomes to remember what's underneath. You start to believe the performance, not because it's true, but because it's safe. And safety? Safety is addictive when you've known abandonment. But safety isn't connection. Obedience isn't belonging. Pleasantness isn't love. You were not born to be tolerated. You were not made to be convenient. Your truth may have scared them, but that doesn't mean it was wrong. You were never too much. They were just not ready. You did everything right. Followed the script, got the job, kept it together, built the life people said would make you happy. But some nights, when no one's watching, you feel it. That soft ache behind the silence. That dull weight under your ribs. Like something inside you is starving. You have a name, a routine, a presence online. People think they know you. You even think you know yourself. But deep down, you feel the distance between the life you live and the life that would actually feel like yours. It's not loud, not dramatic. It's subtle, like walking in shoes that almost fit. You can run, you can work, you can smile, but it rubs, it burns, it blisters quietly. That's the pain of living someone else's life. A life built on expectations, not desire. On survival, not truth. You look at the things you've earned and feel nothing. You accomplish more, but feel less. You have conversations that feel scripted, relationships that feel performed. There's a numbness you carry with elegance, a deadness no one sees because you've learned to wear it well. The tragedy is not that you failed, it's that you succeeded in becoming someone you never wanted to be. And no one tells you how heavy that kind of success is. No one prepares you for the emptiness of getting everything except yourself. Sometimes you think, maybe I'm just ungrateful. You judge yourself for feeling this way. Because from the outside, your life looks fine. No, it looks good. But you don't feel good inside it. You wonder, is this all there is? Am I broken for not being satisfied? You're not broken, you're buried. Because the life you live now was designed to protect you. But in protecting you from pain, it also kept you from truth. And truth, even when it hurts, is the only thing that can make life feel real. You don't just want to be safe anymore. You want to feel something again. To feel you again. You think you're tired because you work too much, but you're not. You're tired because you're disconnected from joy, from meaning, from your own voice. And the longer you stay disconnected, the heavier everything becomes. Even breathing, even waking up. You don't have to destroy everything to begin again, but you do have to stop lying. To stop pretending that this life, this well-behaved, well-constructed, well-adjusted version is enough. Because you were made for something more. Not more noise, not more approval, more truth. And your truth has been waiting for you to come home. There is a kind of death that doesn't come with silence or screaming, but with a smile, a suit, a clean kitchen, a polite nod. It's the death of becoming exactly what you were told to be. Kierkegaard called this the most dangerous thing of all, not physical death, but losing yourself. And the terrifying part? You can lose yourself without noticing. It doesn't happen in one moment. It happens slowly. Every time you say yes when you mean no. Every time you laugh to fill the silence. every time you act okay when you're not. He called it despair, but not in the way we use the word today. Not just sadness, not just depression. Despair for Kierkegaard was the sickness of not being who you are, of being split, of existing in fragments, of drifting through your own life as a stranger. And the worst kind of despair? It's not the one that screams, it's the one that smiles. The one that says, "I'm fine, everything's good." It's the despair that looks like success, the one that gets likes, that earns praise, that keeps you busy, productive, respected, but hollow. Kierkegaard writes, "The self is a relation which relates itself to itself." This is where it gets uncomfortable, because he's not just talking about who you are, he's talking about how you are with yourself. If you live disconnected from your inner truth, you aren't just unhappy, you're in despair, even if no one else sees it, even if you don't see it. Think of how often you look away from yourself, how often you distract yourself, how much you avoid stillness. Why? Because if you stopped, if you sat with your silence, you might hear something real, something painful, something you've spent years trying to bury. That voice is the real you, and you've been ghosting it for a long time. There's a part of you that remembers, not the version the world prefers, not the efficient, impressive, agreeable mask, but the raw you, the deep you, the unfinished you. And that self, that real self, has been watching your life like someone watching their own funeral. Despair is what happens when the soul is exiled from the life it's living. And here's the cruel truth. You can live like this for years, decades, a lifetime, and the world will never stop you. Because the world rewards the lie. It claps for your performance. It promotes your detachment. It validates your mask. But deep inside, you will always know. Not with words, but with the quiet ache, the tired bones, the breath that doesn't feel full, the dreams that feel distant, the joy that feels out of reach. And until you face it, until you're willing to feel it, you'll keep walking through a life that's technically yours, but emotionally borrowed.
Everyone talks about finding yourself like it's some peaceful process, some quiet clarity that arrives in the woods after a few deep breaths and some good lighting. But finding yourself is not peaceful. It's war. A war between who you've become and who you were always meant to be. It's not the kind of pain you scream about. It's the kind that breaks you in silence, as you sit in your own life and realize it doesn't belong to you. It's peeling away layers you thought were skin, layers you protected, layers people praised. But they weren't you. They were costumes. And when they fall off, you feel naked, not free. You grieve a version of yourself that never really existed, but kept you safe. You grieve the love you received for being someone else, the validation, the routine, the illusion of peace. And it hurts because the world liked that version, respected it, applauded it. But that version was a lie. And now that you're shedding it, you realize just how deeply you've been edited. You start saying no to things you always said yes to. You stop laughing when something isn't funny. You tell the truth, and it lands like a weapon in a room full of comfort. Suddenly, you're too intense, too quiet, too distant, too real, and people pull away. You want to go back, you really do. There's a strange nostalgia for the mask you hated. It's so tempting to fit in again, to be easy, to be praised for shrinking. But there's a voice in you now that refuses to be silenced again. And that voice is yours. Kierkegaard said, "To be that self which one truly is indeed the opposite of despair." But he never said it would be painless. In fact, he implied the opposite. Becoming who you are is a confrontation. You will meet the parts of you locked away, the wild ones, The fragile ones, the angry ones, the soft ones you were told to toughen up. They'll return, and they'll ask to be seen. But the false self fights back. It doesn't want to die. It will scream in your mind. They'll leave you. They won't understand. You're being dramatic. You're making a mistake. And worst of all, you don't deserve to be whole. That voice sounds like caution, but it's fear. It's the voice of your training, not your truth. You've outgrown it, but it hasn't let go of you yet. So you'll wrestle with guilt, with memory, with people who still want the version of you that knew how to play small. You'll want to apologize for being different, but don't. You're not being cruel, you're being clear. And clarity often offends those who depended on your confusion. This is the violence of becoming real. Not the pain of being wrong, but the pain of finally being right and watching parts of your life fall apart because of it. You were never meant to be perfect. You were meant to be whole. And wholeness isn't clean. It's not polished. It doesn't always smile on cue. Wholeness is messy. It's cracked. It breathes heavy. It says no. It walks away. It cries in public sometimes. It tells the truth even when it burns bridges. And it loves, not as a performance, but as a pulse. You are not here to be approved. You are here to become. And you don't owe the false world an explanation for your return.
The real you has never stopped speaking. Even in your quietest moments, beneath the masks, the noise, the performance, there was always a voice. A whisper, a pull, a hum beneath the surface. Maybe you ignored it, or doubted it, or drowned it in noise, screens, perfection, motion. But it waited, like a thread you couldn't fully cut, like a door you never locked, just kept walking past. It spoke through discomfort, through boredom, through the ache in your chest at 2 a.m., when everything seemed fine but didn't feel fine. It was the sadness that made no sense, the tears you couldn't explain, the joy that felt fake, the emptiness in the middle of your achievements. That voice was never gone, just buried. And now it's louder, not because it changed, but because you did. You're quiet enough to hear again. And what you hear is not instruction. It's not a plan. It's not clarity. It's something simpler and heavier. It says, come back. Come back to the center, to the silence, to the real. Not the perfect version of you, not the healed one, not the strong, shiny, impressive one. Just you, the you that breathes deeply, that doesn't lie anymore, that doesn't shrink to fit, that doesn't ask for permission to exist. This isn't about reinventing yourself. It's about remembering who you were before the world got too loud, before the rules were printed onto your body, before the mirrors told you who to be. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are just returning. And returns are rarely clean. They are slow and clumsy and sacred. You will make mistakes. You will say the wrong thing. You will hurt and be hurt. You will take steps forward and collapse backward the same day. But none of that means you failed. It just means you've stopped performing and started living. This world is not built for truth. It runs on noise, on roles, on performance, on avoiding mirrors. But you are not here to be consumed. You are here to become, to let go of the version of you that made sense to everyone except you. So here you are, raw, exposed, uncertain, but finally honest, finally breathing. And that's enough. That's always been enough. Not for them, but for you. No one can do this for you. There's no map, no template, no checklist. Only the next honest step, then the next.
Truth, after all, is not a destination. It's a direction. And you know which way to go. You've always known. You just forgot how to trust the sound of your own soul. Now you remember. And that remembering is the beginning. If this moves something inside you, stay. We're building something for those who don't fake it. Subscribe, not just for the content, but for the confrontation. And if this left a wound, maybe it was meant to. Sometimes the best way to go deeper is to share the pain. Share it. You can't force someone to wake up, but sometimes a voice, a word, a silence can start the collapse. Someone else out there might still be living a life that isn't theirs. Send them this, not as an answer, but as a mirror, as an interruption, as a quiet revolt.